It's election night, and we're bringing you session 6, the Trinity.
Heaven help us
Pray for our country.
and us.
We're only going to do one video again this week. We'll touch briefly on trusting in God at the end of this one. Remember, God is 3 persons, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. They are each God, but they are only the one God. There are not 3 gods. And so this graphic really can help you talk through that. And we'll talk about how this really is something that's hard to understand. And be careful. Avoid using other analogies because they are all fraught with issues. St. Patrick's clover did serve a purpose in its time, but it really won't stand up to modern scrutiny. And there is not a good analogy that you can use to try and understand the depth of this mystery.
Right. And remember the term triune, as in tri-unity. They're all unified as one God.
The is and the is not in the graph are very distinct and very strong.
Yeah, consider drawing this on the board if you think it'll help your students.
So let's take the first question. Who is God the Father? What view of him do you have? We consider God the Father our true Father. He is the Father of us all. He is the creator of everything. This is the one that when he gets visualized is usually an old man, the first person of the Trinity.
What we're trying to do here as well is just kind of, yes, all 3 persons of the Trinity are God, but sometimes we don't use them interchangeably. We don't often say Jesus created the world, even though, yes, Jesus was there as part of the Holy Trinity in the creation of the world. So we just want to kind of set those apart a little bit and define those a bit for you here.
Go ahead and really use the question. What view do you have is a great question to take some time and ponder how we can separate the distinct persons of God.
So the next question, who is God the Son and what role does he play? We call God the Son. He is God made man. He is incarnate, which means he became flesh. He is the Redeemer of the world. He is the second person of the Trinity. And this is Jesus.
Through his death and resurrection, he has set us free. I mean, just look at Thomas here. He's having his finger literally stuck into Jesus, and he's having that moment of interaction.
And what I love actually about this picture, I know Doubting Thomas gets a bad rap for doubting, but he is the first one to say, "My Lord and my God," which really we want everyone to think of that, during that elevation, during the consecration, during Mass. We're looking up and we're saying, "My Lord and my God." And that is Jesus, the second person of the Trinity, the Son. We see him at every Mass. We see him at adoration.
Question 3. Who is God the Spirit? What role does he play in our lives? A lot of us feel like we don't get to know the Holy Spirit, but he's always here with us. He is the giver of life, the bringer of sanctifying grace, the comforter, the paraclete.
Paraclete? What's that?
I know what you're thinking, but it's not the parakeet. It's also not a pair of cleats. We're talking about the paraclete.
For those of you who don't know your ancient Greek, paraclete means the advocate, the one who's standing along beside you.
We'll continue to learn more about the paraclete and the Holy Spirit, the concepts and names of the Holy Spirit throughout this year.
So the next question, what importance does the mystery of the Trinity have?
Well, the Catechism tells us directly.
So the mystery of the Most Holy Trinity is the central mystery of Christian faith and life. It is the mystery of God and himself. It is therefore the source of all the other mysteries of faith, the light that enlightens them. It is the most fundamental and essential teaching in the hierarchy of the truths of the faith. And this is from Catechism point 234. This Catechism point is also included on your sheets with the entirety of that Catechism point.
Next question. How can we understand the Trinity? Well, can we?
There's a story about St. Augustine that he told, and it occurs during his lifetime in the 400s. And he's on a beach. He's taking a break from writing one of his greatest works, De Trinitate, means on the Trinity. And he's on the beach, and he sees this boy, and this boy is running back and forth between the water and this little hole that he had dug in the sand. And so he asked the boy, "What are you doing?" And the boy says, "I'm trying to fill this great big ocean into this tiny hole." And so Bishop Augustine tells him, "My child, you cannot possibly fit this great, magnificent ocean into that tiny hole." And then the child says to him quickly, "And you could never possibly understand the Holy Trinity." And then he disappeared. As he was writing this story, he kind of came to this realization: we can never understand these mysteries all at once, much like the ocean, where scientists discover new life all the time. But if we open our minds to God, then he reveals himself to us bit by bit, including the mystery of the Trinity.
Again, the Catechism points this out to us in 237. The Trinity is a mystery of faith in the strict sense, one of the mysteries that are hidden in God, which can never be known unless they are revealed by God. To be sure, God has left traces of his Trinitarian being in his work of creation and in his revelation throughout the Old Testament. But his inmost being as Holy Trinity is a mystery that is inaccessible to reason alone, or even to Israel's faith, before the incarnation of God's Son and the sending of the Holy Spirit.
So in a nutshell about that, it's just we're not fully going to understand the mystery of the Trinity, and that's okay. The only way that we will fully understand it is if it is revealed to us through divine revelation, and that's for God to decide.
We decided for the Trust in God segment that we didn't want to overwork it. Trust in God is something that we are all working to seek and find throughout our lives. It's part of our mystagogical journey. We just wanted to cover a few concepts quickly of what trust really can mean. Things like trust doesn't have bounds, terms, conditions. It's all-encompassing. It's something of surrender. And finally, if we can trust all the way, it's a moment of unity. And that's truly the only way that we're going to find ourselves truly being part of God and trusting in God.
Right. And by unity, we mean unite yourself with God's will, not our own. Take your time with this. Run the conversation the way it works best with your group. Every group is different. And see what fruits come out of this for you and for your students.
We hope you'll have a blessed week.
Good night.